Atop a great sweeping valley, there lies a conglomeration of caves, and through them the ceaseless wind howls like a great beast. Upon a branch, amidst a sea of endless trees, we see something glimmering in the dark on a length of silver chain. A medallion shines. The triple spires of the triumvirate make up the three prongs of a W, a symbol of the watch. And upon the face of this medallion, we see reflections dancing within it as a horrifying screech fills the air. Lena, it is as your vision has shown you. This woman has gone from stalking through the woods to appearing atop the conglomeration, a good 60 feet above you. And as she turns to look at you over her shoulder, you see that it isn't the face of a human being at all, but of an abomination with an owl-like head twisting 180 degrees around to look upon you. And you act first.
As a result of initiative being rolled, Lena gets to move half over movement, so I imagine there's like the swelling sounds cause like a fear in her of the supernatural, and she's like stumbling back, half out of training to give herself an archer's space, but half just following the human instinct to flee from the unknown. And she eventually gathers up her senses as she gathers up an arrow between her ring and index finger, and she'll put it to the string and pull the bow up to her cheek and eye the abomination above and veer from the center mass to like the shoulders, aiming for the wings if there are wings. And she'll let fly a barbed. Actually, no, she'll save her barbed arrow. She'll just use her marksman's quarry for a bonus. You said she's 60 feet up, right?
That's right, looking down upon you with fury in her eyes.
Actually, if that's the case, I won't use that initiative feature because that would put me out of range of my quarry. So,
okay,
all of it to stay, and she'll just kind of shoot upwards underneath. I guess if she's underneath the thing, then like to the bottom section of it, she'll let fly.
Give it a shot.
Arrow for a miss. It goes wide. Maybe she flaps her wings and arcs to the side, or just because of the fear compounding, the shot goes infuriatingly wide and out into the trees to disappear, no doubt. She will then use her movement to go 40 feet back from where she was standing, like back the way that they'd come, since she knows at least that can be trod. And that's how she'll end her turn.
Perfect. There's a grim feeling within the pit of your stomach as you look upon this thing. It just looks completely unnatural, and your eyes are having difficulty making sense of the thing that is screeching above you. But before it is able to descend upon you, Luthor, is your turn.
So I can't reach it with my axes, and so what I will do is I will rush to where Lena is, and I'll ready an action that if it comes near me, I will attack it. Or her. Because I can't throw my axe far enough, or I can, but it won't be very effective, so I'll just run to where Lena is and try and protect her.
Yeah, perfect. Your training is kicking in, forming up in the formation of the watch, a well-trained practice, which allows her to take her initiative. And looking down upon you, this abomination doesn't appear to have wings, but long, spindly arms with sort of taut, tight skin. Looks to be half rotting beneath a layer of mismatching feathers, completely different to the beauty of the tawny owl that has haunted your dreams. It arcs its neck backwards to the sky, and it opens its beak-like mouth and gives a screech. And I would like all of you to give me a wisdom saving throw, please, as fear ripples through the air.
12 for Lena.
Oh my goodness. I need all of you to roll a D100, please. Okay, so we've got, let's see. Luther came in first with a 9. Luther, the sight of this creature above you does something to your mind. You can't make heads or tail of the creature, and you begin to retreat inwardly. Mentally, you are now paralyzed, and this effect will basically be on you until you make a save.
Okay.
Dagger with an 84. Oh, good lord. Your character. Oh no, it's just stunned. You were just stunned, Dagger. So the sight, the appearance of this this fell lady who once walked through your dreams, and that is now in front of you, is just stunned you out of your senses. So you will just remain stunned for your turn, but you will be absolutely fine. No save required after. Let's see. Then it was Lena with a 38. So, Lena, you have become frightened, and you must use your action and movement to just flee the source of your fear. And then finally, with a 25 for Villiers. Villiers, you become incapacitated as you spend the duration of your turn screaming, laughing, or weeping, your choice. So none of you made that save, which is alarming. So I think that means all of you will miss your... Oh, no, let's see. Let's just bring the initiative down. And then she's going to use her movement, to... she appears to glide from the top of this conglomeration, and she comes to a rest at the foot of the escarpment she's glided down upon. But other than that, she will do she won't do anything further. Dagger, you are stunned. What is going through your mind when you see this creature?
Yeah. He is completely and utterly gripped by fear, and he drops his weapon, holding his huge hands over his ears to block out this fear-inducing screech, and he is crying out for his mother and probably wailing for Lena and any other person that gave him comfort to this point.
You're muted if you're talking, Rob.
Oh, no, and that's it. He's done.
I'm so sorry, I was muted. So what I was going to say was, as you appear to be retreating into your mind, stunned by the visage of this terrifying abomination, I would like anyone who can to make a dexterity saving throw. If your condition, which paralyzed obviously means you can't make it, you're just going to take damage for this.
Oh, fuck me. So I'm rolling so badly. A 10 dex save a lot.
Okay, so that's 8 for Dagger. And Villiers, can we have a dex save for you? Oh, did you just shrink to the ground and you can't move? Oh, let's see. Let's see. Yes, incapacitated. Sorry, Kaya. So you weren't able to. So anyone who failed, let's see.
We all failed.
Yeah, so
think.
you've all failed.
Incapacitated means I can't take actions, doesn't it? Or but I can make saves.
I mean, for now, I'll say yeah. I mean, in the corner of your eye, then you see this coming. I will say that just for simplicity. Then, so you'll take half of this. So the rest of you, so that's 6. So Villiers, you will take 3 then in that case. 3 slashing damage as the creature sort of looks around you, looks to the wild, and from the depths of this great forest that has surrounded you since your journey began, almost a screaming mirage of beaks and talons and sharp leaves howl around you all, and you get sliced with 1,000 small cuts. And with that, we are now at Villiers.
Yeah, Villiers is just that there isn't coming from Villiers, but nothing else.
Oh my goodness me. So we're at the top of the round now. Lena, you are able to make a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, she flees for her life. She moves 80 feet away from this. She's so fast. And then it's a wisdom save. Okay, 22. And then it's not that she somehow conquers her fear of the owl. It's that she's more afraid of being alone or losing her brothers. And so she stops and then like turns and breathes deep and readies her arrow. That's all for her.
Yeah, perfect. You're able to, whatever it is, you're able to come around from fleeing directly from the Tawny lady, at least. Luther, can you make a save for me, please, to see if you can break this paralysis?
It's 2 on the die, so no, I cannot.
So what's going through Luther's mind as he is stuck to the spot?
He's like not even here, I think. He's like retreated into his mind, right? So he's living through some experience from his past. He's like the first time that he went with his father to an execution, and like the way that the crowd was roaring, like both like adoration and abuse, and how strange that was. And he's there again. He can like smell the meat cooking, and he can see the crowd and like all their filthy faces. So he's not even here, really.
Yeah, and it shows the Tawny lady begins to slowly, but with great intention, stalk towards you. Now, as you're still paralyzed, I believe she can just crit you, right?
No, she has to hit me
A
first.
hit will crit.
She has
A
to
hit's an auto crit. Yeah.
Okay,
She
She
let's
has
see.
advantage on the hit.
That's true. Yes, so she has advantage. Let's
advantage,
see
and if she
then.
hits, it's an automatic crit.
Okay, so that's going to be a 21 to hit.
Yes.
So that is a crit.
Lena screams, Luther!
Have you absorbed? I don't think you've absorbed any criticals yet, have you?
I have not, no.
So you'll be able to absorb the effect, but you are going to
I
get the
will.
damage. That's how that works, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's only if you're paralyzed that
Yeah,
the
he
auto
is.
crit.
He is paralyzed.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of different results on this table. Right, so Luther, you get 22 points of piercing damage as this creature just stalks towards you, and not with her hands, but with the terrifying long talons at the end of her toe. She sweeps her leg up, driving the sharp point of the talon directly into your chest. Now, hang on a second. Did it say if you take damage, you come out of it? Some of them you have. The effect ends if the character takes any damage. So the effect is now ended on you.
Okay.
Luther.
On me.
That just on you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right, because
okay.
you took damage.
Okay.
And that's all she's going to do. She's just looking into your eyes with these terrifying, wide owl eyes. Dagger.
Yeah, so I guess I don't have to make another save. I'm just,
No, so you're just stunned for 1 round, so you're automatically out of it.
yeah. Just training kicks in. It's instinct now. Seeing this creature and the sight of Luther's blood spilled, He roars. Ah! Taking up his war axe in two hands, he charges into the thing, tries to bring it down heavily upon it. 20.
Go ahead. It's going to connect.
Excellent. That'll be a D10 now. It will take 9 points of slashing damage.
Yeah, excellent. The foul creature gives a shuddering shriek that rocks you to your bones. It cowers away for a second, such is the strength of your strike, but then it spins around, blood dripping from its shoulder, and looking deeply into your eyes, it says, "Beloved." It is now the falling leaves. So, if everyone who can, please make a dexterity saving throw for me, please. Oh, good lord. Is that everyone again? Apart from Villiers, who takes half. So all of you take 5 points of slashing damage, other than Villiers, who takes half of that, rounded down, so 2 points of slashing damage.
Are there any other things that get stopped that end with damage?
Are
there any
there
other conditions?
Let me see. I will just double check. That is a very good point.
Villiers is the only one currently under an effect.
Yep, you're the one that's screeching and laughing or weeping. It doesn't say, the character is just incapacitated and spends the duration screaming, laughing, or weeping until the save is made. That's what it says.
I made a save of 15 if it's me next.
Wisdom saving throw, that is successful. So you are able to act.
Okay, Villiers sort of his throat aching from the amount of screaming he's done, and he wipes the tears from his eyes, and but some bit of humanity comes over him. He grabs his bow and looses an arrow at the thing, but again his hand's still trembling and the arrow flies wild, but he starts chanting one of the oaths of the watch. Walk on through the wild, walk on through the dark, and the watch will never walk. You'll never walk without the watch. And this gives let's see, Luther inspirations, a D6 on bardic inspiration of a D6. He
Excellent.
says, approaching, coming closer, but he's not up there yet. Moving 30 feet closer to the thing.
And as you summon your courage and bring courage to fellow members of the Watch, moving towards the abomination, Lena, you see this happening. What do you do?
Lena fires another arrow, or shoots another arrow, I should say, and then rushes forward 40 foot towards Luther, putting her 40 foot away from him. And the hit is 22, and the damage is 10, and her movement is reduced by 10 for 1 minute. And then that movement that's left will be reduced by half until she takes an action to pull the barbed arrow out of her, which will cause bleeding damage.
Poof.
Okay, yep, I remember that. So yeah, the barbed arrow sinks in a tendon, and it's a talon-like claw, and it gives a screeching wail as this happens to the creature. Luther.
I think he suddenly realizes that he's in extreme pain, he wasn't aware of it, and just screams, and is going to lash out at the thing. And I'm going to action surge to attack twice. 19 on the first on the die, so 24.
Yep, that's going to hit.
And 16 for the second.
16 is not going to connect, but the first one does.
Okay. Ooh. 16 slashing damage.
Oh, excellent.
Big axe.
Yeah. You slice it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he'll like scream and then sort of rock back and then just in rage, like bring the axe overhead, his two-handed axe, and just swing at it as hard as he can.
Yeah, as your stroke falls, there's a rumble in the on the horizon of thunder, and in harmony with it, the creature gives like a guttural growl, low from the impact of your weapon, and it's. Is it an action to remove the arrow, Nico? Did you say?
Grit check.
Grit check. That's Constitution, right?
I don't know what the DC would be. Oh, the DC would be my 8 plus my proficiency. It's 2 is 10 plus my level 1. 11. No, not my proficiency would be my dex. 14, if I have it correctly, is the DC.
Yeah, manages it on the die. It reaches down with a warped hand. You can see some of these gnarled fingers look broken and bent in strange directions, and the creature gives a shriek as it rips the arrow from it. Does it take damage from taking it out, Nico?
Oh, it just now has the bleeding condition, which is at the end of its turn, it takes damage.
Perfect.
Lloyd, do you know how much damage it is for the bleeding condition? It starts at a D4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's a D4 per round, and you have to do a wound-wise check to stop it bleeding.
D4 per round. I don't think it's going to try and stop itself from bleeding. It doesn't seem like that kind of creature, to be honest. But yeah, okay. So it's does that count as its movement or its action then? For
Action.
To pull that out. Action. Oh, in that case, then it is going to. No, it can't. It's what it's going to do instead. It's just going to it's going to look deep into your eyes, Luther, and it's going to say, actually, no, it's not. It's not going to say anything. It's just going to stare at you. Apologies. Yeah, it just stares at you intimidatingly, and that's its turn. Dagger, it's your turn.
Yeah, he will continue the assault. Dagger just wants this thing to stop moving. That's how he usually deals with an enemy. He hits it till it stops moving, and he'll do so. Oh, that's critical. All right. So
That is what we like to hear.
he is dangerous blows, so he'll have +1 damage on this attack roll.
Oh.
So 11. He will take 16 points of damage.
Yowzers.
And brutal rolls.
Yep, so I've just brought up the brutal wounds table. So this is a notable NPC, so you'll be rolling a D20, please.
Okay. If I roll at 6.
Let's see. It's the first time I'm using this, you know.
So you usually roll for a location as well, unless it's decided. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, it isn't. Yeah, of course. Yeah, please. So what have you got to roll for that then? Location is
D12.
D12 for me, please. Yeah, there it is. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
The dangerous blows feat, does this affect this roll any? Lloyd?
What does it do?
Masking the creator.
It sounds like it probably does, but I don't know.
I think it may just be
I'll say yes. I'll say it does. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've hit the thing, so it's not.
Is that the one that
Yeah.
makes you do more damage and gives pluses to brutal wounds, right?
Yeah, is it just plus to like the static, the damage?
What you roll on the
static?
d20, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it the higher number? Is it you want a higher number the worse than the effect?
Yeah, so you roll your d20 and then you add whatever, or if it's advantage, then yeah, you want the higher number.
Oh, it's rolled with advantage.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we need location then, so a d12 and then a d20 for the actual result. So the d12 for me first, please.
Okay, 6.
Okay, let's see. So 6 is torso. Okay, so torso, and it's slashing damage you're doing, isn't it? With an axe?
Yep.
Yeah, and then a d20 for me, please.
4.
Oh, man. So you slash out at your opponent as they try to dart back to avoid your strike. They trip and they fall into the dirt, and you cut them as they stumble. The target suffers 2 levels of bleeding and is knocked prone. So it's already...
Security has 1,
That'll be
so it's D8 bleeding.
Yeah.
So now a D8 bleeding, which she'll take at the end of her turn, correct? She's already taken the D4. I rolled that at the end of her turn.
Cool.
So amazing dagger, yeah. After that, yeah, you're able to strike out at her, and the attack basically sends the creature reeling into the dirt. And it is at this point there is an... Oh, sorry, unless there's anything else you can do, dagger.
Nope, that's it.
Yep, there's a familiar howling as a mirage of talons and claws descends upon you all. Furious that the Tawny lady has been thrown into the mud. Dexterity saving throw, please.
14 this time.
14 is a success.
15.
Excellent. So that's half damage for all of you. So that is 2 points of slashing as these leaves and seemingly illusionary creatures sort of strike out at you from the shadows. It is now Villiers' turn.
Villiers, seeing the thing fall, and he moved 30 feet closer last time. How far away from it is he?
You can attack. You can go into melee if you wish.
Yep. So he drops his bow where it is and pulls out his broadsword, running forwards, and tries slashing down. But he slips on some mud as he gets close and misses it. But he's standing over it, and at the same time he's chanting the walk on through the wild, walk on through the dark, the watch, never walk alone. To the others, and this time I'll give to Dagger, who's also standing by me. He gets a point of inspiration, a bardic inspiration, D6, D6 to add to your attack, save, or damage roll. Because I've got a special ability which allows it to go to damage.
Amazing. Yeah, sadly you stumble at the last second, and the confusion, the horror, and the rumbling thunder upon the horizon. Everything is building. The tension is building to the point that you're missing your strikes. Desperation is definitely kicking in. As you move back to the top of the round, Lena, chaos is all around you.
Yeah, she'll stop and draw another arrow and fire it for 6 damage at the Tawny lady, and then I imagine now with 3 of her companions like on the thing in melee, it's becoming increasingly difficult to get a safe shot away. So she'll drop the bow and arrow bag and unsling the short spear and ready to charge the thing next turn. And that's it for her.
Yeah, as you were all descending upon this creature, we move to Luther.
Okay. I will swing my axe. The Bardiche at it. That's going to be 20 to hit.
Connects.
And 8 plus 5, so 13 damage.
Yowzers, where'd you get it?
The D6 from me.
Ooh, an extra D6.
I mean, you don't have to use it.
Oh, I certainly will. And I can't roll a 1 because great weapon, so another 4, so 17 damage.
17 points of damage. What does it look like when you send this thing screeching, not to death, but into a rage of pain?
He's got the axe low, and he'll like feint with it and smash the blunt end into its torso, and then as it stumbles back, he'll swing overhead and down and hack into its shoulder, and it'll stumble back away from him as he like brings it up to strike again. But that's it for me.
It's almost like it begins to move into slow motion. The tawny lady moving its decrepit beak to its shoulder to see your bardiche deep within it, looking into the pooling blood that's surrounding it, and she slowly begins to pull herself from the bardiche as you take a defensive step back, and she sits up, her bright owl-like eyes looking through all of you to Lena behind your ranks. Walk through the wild, walk through the dark, into my embrace. She's going to use a bonus action to Misty Step to you, Lena. And as her action, she is just going to use a multi-attack against you. The first attack is going to be a 17 on your armor class. That hits.
That hits. That's what she needs to hit currently.
The second one does not. So let's see. The damage is 11 points of piercing damage, sorry, as she brings up that raking velociraptor-like claw across you, but then misses with the second attack.
That's because Lena drops to her knees, clutching at the first wound.
Yeah.
And she's swooning in and out of unconsciousness on 1 hit point.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the tawny lady is looking upon you with victory in her eyes. Dagger.
Yeah, the mist of her magic is still like floating in the air as he kind of swipes at it. Seeing though it's moved over to Lena, he will take his movement, and from his back he will try to hurl a javelin at it. What is the upward? Does anyone know off the top of that upward distance of a javelin? Is it 60?
Lena had moved up to 10 feet away from you guys, so even if Misty steps to the other side of me from you, it's not going to be 20 feet from you.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, then I just move to attack it. Yeah, seeing that it's descended on her. Oh, another critical.
I'm going to save you.
The D6 will be doubled too.
Let's do it, actually. Let's do it. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So, first of all, then, a D12 to ascertain the location.
Let's see. A 9.
Okay, so that's going to be into the torso again.
Okay, 8 is the D20.
Let's see, sorry, slashing torso, and that's an 8 on the D20.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So the tawny lady is looking triumphantly down upon Lena, and then something moves out of the corner of her eye. She looks suddenly upwards to see Dagger charging towards her, and she simply says, "I saw you in my dreams." Right before you kill her, involving hitting her in the ribs in some way. Go for it.
Yeah, there's a momentarily slowing of his weapon, but it's too late. The weapon has sent flying, and she is severed in half. Just cut in two. Her top half just folding back over itself, leaving just strands of skin and feather to hold her in place.
Yeah, as the final strike comes, she wasn't able to react in any way. Though as she bends backwards, collapsing in on herself, such as the power of your strike, you see something just utterly horrifying. On her defeat, she begins to twist in a horrifying display of accelerated decay. You see as if time is fast forwarded, and this wretched thing spasms down into a fetal position, pulling back up upon her shattered spine, clawing at a now human face that bears the deformities of a terrible curse, before then gradually, agonizingly rotting into the earth. And as her shrieks are at an end, the rain begins to fall.
Luther will cough up a glob of blood and run over to Lena's side to see if he can help her, or if she's going to be okay.
Yeah, with assistance, she can stand. So that, like the blood's issuing out. We should make camp. We need to rest.
Maybe the death of this thing here will keep other things away.
What is it? What is it? As he like stands over the broken body of the Tawny lady, his hands like shaking.
Cursed wretch.
We haven't seen anything like this in our like anything unnatural. This is our first kind of experience with the.
You'd have seen some strange things in your time, but nothing quite like this abomination. No.
Luther's like trying not to focus on that they encountered a monster and that there could be more of them and a bunch of other things, and trying to focus on doing the work that has to be done. And so like seeing to his wound and trying to clean it and making sure that Lena's wounds aren't like going to fester and get worse and that kind of thing.
So with that, we can do some kind of medicine or nature check. Let's see. Do you have anything to help you with that at all?
Yeah, Lena's got a herbalism kit and herbalism proficiency. So maybe she can like craft up like a poultice at least to like smear over our wounds.
Yeah.
Or attempt to.
Yeah, I have survival and worldwise.
Yeah, she's too shocked and like jittery and shaky and drops things and then says fuck. She turns aside from it just to want to cause her wounds and crudely bandages them.
While they're administering those, Villiers finds cuts back the turf and creates a bit of bare earth and lights a small fire. It collects some kindling and puts it in the fire and gets out his copper kettle that he found and starts boiling up some water in it. And he adds honey that he found the other day, and starts brewing up some road tea, honeyed road tea with some dried leaves that he has in his pack, and gets out the last of his apple dolphins and shares them round. And yes, thou art passing away from the forsaken earth, thy much loved abode in the land of thy birth, from its forests and fields, from its murmuring rills, from its beautiful plains and the herbage-crowned hills. Thou art passing away from thy kindred and friends, and the last chain that bound thee, the spoiler now ends. And thy last tones are falling on love's listening ear, and now in thine eyes shines the fond parting tear. Remember, remember our oaths. We started, we swore to go into the wild and oppose this very thing. There will be more, but we did oppose it, and we did defeat it. And he tries to inspire the others, and his and with his songs of healing, everyone gets back a d6 hit points during this short rest, I guess we're taking.
That's perfect. Now, one you can absolutely all take that. One thing that you begin to notice is that since the battle is now over, the adrenaline is kicking in. I would like to see if that stressed any of you out, but I'm going to say because of that beautiful moment there from Villiers, we will have everyone can roll their stress wisdom saving throw with advantage.
What's the DC? I can never remember.
Is it a set DC? Because I have one written down, but I think it was dependent on.
I think it depends on the situation.
Yeah, the one that I have written down, I will just say is 14. So anyone who, so unfortunately, Luther and Dagger just short of this. Lena is fine. How did you do, Charles?
I got 14.
So you're fine. Okay. So Luther and Dagger, you take 3 stress damage. That could have been a lot worse. 3 stress damage to your totals.
Okay, I'm still all right.
Yeah, if you fall below half, please advise me of this, and we will roll upon the stress table. But thankfully,
mental malady.
You do?
No, I don't. I said then you'll get another mental malady.
I was going to say you don't need that right now.
No.
So when you'd actually arrived here, the beginnings of making a camp had already occurred. As you might remember, you climbed the sweeping valley side to get to this conglomeration at the top. You know that your road is just going to continue going upwards from this point on, further up inclines and outcrops and things. So you can dwell on that as you rest. Is there anything you wish to discuss? Is there anything you wish to do before you all go to sleep tonight?
Once he's over the worst of his wounds, or like has dealt with them, Luther will want to like butcher the thing and like examine it and record it, whatever it is, for the watch, like in journals and stuff like that. And I reckon we have systems for that.
I think you would, yeah. It kind of began to like decay very quickly and begin to rot into the ground. But I will say that there are some bones that are very bird-like, that are sort of sunken into the ground where she fell.
Okay, yeah, he'll collect those, and anything like if there's still feathers or leaves or anything like that, like he'll collect everything that he can, as best as possible.
And Villiers, in his logbook that he's keeping as he's trying to accurately map their progress, he'll add a description and try and draw a picture as close as possible as he can get of this Tawny lady, this owl lady that they fought, but he'll consult the others to see if they remember the proportions the same way and the look being the same, and try and get a sort of group consensus on what she looked like.
Yeah, very good. Very good indeed. I think you'll be able to do that. So you're able to scribble away into your journal the shape and stature of the Tawny lady. though having to dwell on it so soon after those moments that just occurred, it's not the nicest thing, but you do it in the name of the watch. So I mean, if there's nothing else that the rest of you would like to do for the rest of the night, I believe for this rest you'd also get a d6 of healing in addition to the thing that Villiers gave you. That's right. It's not a d6. Sorry, it's a hit die. You get a hit die back for resting, a short rest.
Can I just suggest? Can I just have a moment or something like that?
Of course you can. Of course.
For example, as we're taking watches during the night, it's either Lena follows me or I follow Lena, and there's just a moment where the two of us are sort of awake at one stage during the night, and I turn and I sort of warming myself by the embers of the fire. He says, "We fought mad things in the forest, that some mad things that were human once, but became cursed by the wild. And they torment my dreams, but I wash their blood off my blade with an easy conscience. But at what stage," he says, glancing over at Dagger, "do they stop being us and start becoming them?"
She just eyes the firelight, the sleeping companions, and like her silence and the way that she looks at them is like an answer, even though there's no words. Like an understanding, an agreement, but that she can't will herself to speak.
He seems to be watching you hoping for some kind of response, but some spoken word. But when one doesn't come, but he sees you look and he holds your eyes for a bit and then nods and goes back to warming the copper kettle that's on the embers. He'll have a drink whilst he's on watch.
As Villiers is walking away from her, she'll say to his back, "Vil, do you think that you can come back from this place? That cursed bitch and the other things we've seen? Is it certain once the wild's within you?"
Back to what? We've all lost our homes when we swore to join the Watch. If the Watch accept us, however we come back, I don't know. Maybe we will think that we are still human when we return, but maybe we won't be. We will see.
Yep, she'll just purse her lips and nod a few times and kind of stalk off to find some more wood.
Daggett sits with his hands covering his face. The apple fish, long since nibbled away. When they were examining the bones in such a, just a gross manner, he couldn't stop just hearing the words that she spoke. A lingering magic now presses in on his mind, even when they spoke just steps away. He couldn't hear them. Only the woman's voice remains.
Right. Well, it seems most of the time when trudging through the wild, the nights don't last long enough. That feeling when you sleep outside, like you close your eyes for a second and then you open them to see the dawn. But this isn't one of those nights. Like I mentioned, it began to rain, and then that slowly eases off, allowing this fire that you were huddled around. But the night seems to go on endlessly. You all waking up, and while you do get the benefit of resting, it still feels restless. This is not a good place to be in, as you've obviously already worked out by this point. And as we are greeted with a new day, that means we are going to assign our roles for the day. Now, since we last played, we have a new position that needs to be occupied. So we will need a navigator, someone who will be telling us if we're going in the right direction, a scout who is going to look for danger, a gatherer who is going to be in charge of getting the supply that you need to eat, and then a vigilant to keep you safe at night towards the end of the day. So what's it going to be? I believe Lena has bonuses to gathering.
Yeah, she'll just do that always.
Yep.
19 on
Guess
the
I'll
die,
scout.
so a billion.
I volunteer to continue my navigation. I'd like to continue getting out the astrolabe and marking our positions, scientifically calculating our long latitude
Okay.
using advanced mysteries of mathematics.
Sorry, Lloyd.
That's all right. I'll just vigil then, which is the last one.
Yep. Okay, so vigilant is just at the end of the day, right? Or is that, do you make a day? Yeah, that's fine. So, right, we'll do it in order then, just so I make sure I do them all in the right way. So first of all, we're going to have the navigation roll from Villiers.
A 22 navigation.
Oh,
22
absolutely.
investigation.
That's perfect. Yeah, you know exactly where you're going to go today.
No, yeah. I'll just he measures the angle of the sun, and there is no and the angle of the shadow of the sun on his little handpiece, which tells him gives him some statistics to use for a calculation. But the sun is not covered at the moment he needs it. The sun is not at the moment of dawn, and at the moment of midday, the sun is clear, and he gets a very good clear reading, and he's able to calculate very precisely where they are.
That's fantastic. And the continued elevation of your path, you trudging up inclines and escarpments is able to help you with this as well. You're able to see now, looking back, you can see the dim outline of that aqueduct far behind you now as well. Things like that. So that's excellent. Then we're moving to Scout, and that was a 17 from Dagger, which means, let's see. So, whilst you're on your journey throughout the morning, Dagger, you notice that there is a almost a sea of color that can be seen in a clearing between trees. There appears to be a flattened plateau that rests upon the valley side that you're clambering up. So you've spotted something colorful orange. But at the distance you're at the moment, you can't really make out what it is.
I call out to the others, "Look!" And I point over to the plateau. It probably makes a stark contrast from the rest of this place. It's riot of color, you know, piercing through the other shades of brown and, mottled green.
You have sharp eyes, Dagger.
I move in that direction.
How far away is the plateau? I mean, these things can be seen from a high plateau, could be seen from 20 miles away.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe plateau's the wrong word. Like a part of it, the ground sort of flattens up, like a ledge almost that's jutting out of the valley side. So you can spot it from about 100 feet away. This bright shade of orange that appears to be, just resting about hip height through the trees. Dagger, if you're approaching, the first thing you don't notice isn't with your sight, but with your nostrils, a pleasant smell of fauna and flowers. And as you approach, go ahead, Nico.
I was just going to say, Lena, at that, like the smell of nice things, should become alert to danger and want to try and move off away from my companions to hide if I can.
Yeah, of course you can. You can absolutely do that. You can flank around the area if you wish and hide.
Villiers is covering Dagger's approach with his bow.
Villiers, as you're approaching, it's very familiar to you. Go on.
He's not necessarily approaching. He's just watching Dagger approach, and he's covering. If he gets into any problems, he's got his bow ready to help him.
Okay. Dagger, are you just going to continue onwards?
Yeah, you say I smell flowers?
That is correct. And as you come to the this clearing almost upon this ledge, you see that there are a number of flowers reaching up out of the earth, opening to the sunlight above and fresh from the rain from the night before. A beautiful smell reaches your nostrils. You see that these are great flowers, roses that grow tall, orange with black petals also, reaching for what sunlight there is. Upon closer inspection, you note... Yeah. As you get closer, you note that their stems happen to be rising from the sockets of many human skulls.
Yeah, then he'd stop. And do I need to make like a stress roll?
No, actually. Unless you think he would be particularly freaked out by that.
Yeah, because maybe he would. The memory of flowers brings back a time. It jostles a memory of the prairies near his farm where he grew up, and running through them with his sister. The many games they've played, and now seeing them despoiled or seeing something so contrast to this memory, you might have to. So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Fair enough. So that's a wisdom saving throw then, please.
And that is, of course, a fail again. So
you take 4 points of stress damage.
Okay. Did we recover any stress from the previous night?
So if you took Caius Villiers made some tea, didn't he? Was that what?
And he gave us poetry.
That's right, yeah. So you'll have healed a D4 of stress damage +2 because of using the copper kettles. So actually, once you've applied that stress damage dagger, can you then roll a D4 +2 and to put that back on your score? And everyone else who's down, please do that also for the same result, obviously. So what do you get, Dagger?
Gotcha. Okay, hang on one second. So thankfully I regained 6. So,
that's good.
Yeah. Let's see, 17. So
6.
I am not yet at half, but perfect. Very close.
Yep. So everyone, you gain 6 for your stress. That tea obviously did wonders.
Yeah, you see him kind of like bound up the plateau, and you see him kind of somewhat, struck there for a moment before he turns and runs in the direction of you. And the first person he sees, their bodies up there. They grow with the flowers.
Calm, Dagger, calm. Though what is beautiful here is hides an ugliness in its heart.
I'll go check it out. Luther says, At this stage, like exhausted and pained, and having less and less patience for Dagger's shouting, he will like move his way forward to try and inspect it and see what he's talking about.
Lena's going to ready an action from hiding in the trees beyond. Should one of those things spring up at Luther, she'll fire at it.
And Villiers will go forward with Luther as well.
Yeah, as you do then, you don't spy any particular danger. You see, as I described, there are these waist-height roses of orange and black that twist out of the sockets of human skulls. Nothing attacks you. Sorry, go on, Charles.
He rolls up, as he's about to approach, he rolls up the collar of his coat and as a sort of mask to breathe through. So he's not too... He's a little bit wary of the flowers of perfumes, and he's a little bit wary of the perfumes of these flowers. So he hopes that he puts a clove of, or not a clove, but he starts chewing on some wild mint that he collected, and to sort of hopefully keep his scent on that, and mask the any smell that comes out of the flowers as he goes over to investigate with Luther. Be careful of its scent.
Yeah, he'll nod and then do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there doesn't appear to be anything happening around there. Really, it was just to see. The reason why I said, oh, this might be familiar for you, Charles, is because of the fact that there is an aroma that comes from it. But if you purposefully block it, then that's absolutely fine. Perhaps you even try and dispel the thoughts of the perfumier's shop.
Perfumier. Mm.
Yeah. But there doesn't appear to be anything... any further danger to it. The skulls don't spring alive. There isn't anything hiding in there. They do look beautiful, slightly gothic, but beautiful.
Yeah, Luther will enjoy the quiet moment and like close his eyes and take a breath and like imagine what it might be like to be in a bed, or to like not smell himself for a moment, or his companions. Or like the wetness of the woods, or the constant trudge, and just for a second he thinks like, yes, there was once a life in which I lived in a bed.
Perfect.
With his dagger, Villiers kneels down and starts poking through the roots and these bones, and to see if there's the humans that have fallen here, if there's any identifiers for what they were or anything like that.
Give me an investigation check, please.
I get a 22.
Yeah, you've seen all sorts of people behave strangely when affected by the wild. These skulls have been deliberately arranged and placed for the flowers to grow in a particular way. The meaning behind it you can't really tell, but there is definite intention here.
They haven't just fallen here and the flowers have grown through them. They've been arranged, these bodies, for some sort of ritual. Am I sort of interpreting roughly right?
That's absolutely right, yes. That is absolutely right.
That's strange.
Again, he gets out his journal and sketches the layout of the bones as they've the ritualized bones, and sketches the flower that's growing out of them. He may have seen one before. I don't know. Has he ever seen this kind of flower, or is it completely new to him?
I think you'll have seen they are definitely roses, so you would have seen similar, but maybe not with black petals.
Yep, not this kind. I rolled a
Orange and
4 on
black,
my
yeah.
nature, so even, yep.
Some kind of death cult? He'll ask.
Or some insane dweller of the wild. Who knows what they go? Who knows how it affects their minds before they turn into these things? Somewhere when they're on the border of human and whatever they turn into later. Who knows what goes on in their minds?
Insane.
But maybe you are right. Maybe this is some ancient thing.
It's somehow more comforting to think that it's more deliberate and less madness, but who knows?
I think whilst... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Luther will just pluck one of the flowers and put it in his pack. Press it between some paper and put it in his pack.
Lovely. Lena, whilst you flanked for a little bit, did you make your supply roll for the morning?
I don't believe I did, actually.
No, so let's have that and let's see what we get.
20 dirty.
Oh yeah, perfect. So you're able to find some food to bolster your supply. So it's D4, I believe. Plus your bonuses or whatever they were.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I got a 5 all up.
Perfect. So +5 to the general supply. What do you think it is, Nico? Up on the valley side.
Maybe there's like a rib cage hung in a tree or something, and bees have made honey in it. And I remember the other night after Villius's road tin and poetry that he'd used the last of his personal honey for us, so this might be a good thing for him to use. And so she'll take out a tinder box and find a piece of bark and put a bit of kindling and light stuff in it until she can make like a fire. Then she'll put it underneath the hive and heap greens on it till it smokes them out, and then she'll hack the rib cage down and or the part of it that the bees have made their nest in, and she'll like hack away at it and stuff it in her pouch and give it to him later. Good for our wounds and for our bellies. Here, Villiers, for your pot. I found it yonder. I found no danger either.
Oh, fresh honey. We'll have honey cakes tonight, he says. If you see any grain, wild grain, oats, wheat, or rye, any of these grasses, pick them, and we'll use those to flavour the flour that I'm carrying.
I'll keep my eye out. I found these two, and she'll pull out like a string bound around a bunch of nettles. And she'll hold them up like butt first to you so you don't get stung by the leaves.
Yeah, and they'll make a good soup, he says, wrapping them carefully and putting them in his pouch of food.
Any more nettles and we'll turn green,
mustard,
and she'll smile.
If you find any wild mustard, keep your nose alert for wild mustard. That will improve the flavour of that brings out the flavour of the nettles.
She'll smile and say, "I will. Anything to bring out the flavour of those nettles."
And though his spirits dropped, he was tormented by the night and the arrangement of the bones under the flowers. When he starts thinking about the evening meal and things he can prepare, his spirits always rise a bit, and he starts humming under his singing that copper kettle song to himself as it teaching anyone who's willing to learn the tongue twister copper kettle song as they walk. When they are walking through a place where, if they ever get to a place where they can see a short distance, so they're not in immediate worry of being overheard if they sing. If there's no opportunity like that, he won't do it, but he'll just sing under his own and sing quietly to himself to keep his own spirits up.
Perfect. And so as you press on, then those were the morning checks. So we're now into the afternoon. So you travel, and we will have not navigation because that's the beginning of the day. So just scouting and supply, please. Excellent. So while okay, so while Lena, you find supply, which we'll talk about in a moment, then you get a further +3 to your supply. You're stopping for lunch, so we're deducting 4 off the total. And I will say at this point, everything seems fine. With a 3 on the scouting roll.
Lena's found some wild rosemary and types of bark that can be boiled, and she'll like chip all them away from this tree and slash up heaps of the wild rosemary and bind it up and return back and say, it all seems quiet out there. No mustard, but there's this. She'll hand over the wild rosemary and bark for the pot.
That will do well.
Luther, have you seen Dagger? And she'll kind of look around.
He'll look around as well. Scouting, as far as I know. Keeping an eye out.
Yeah, Dagger, seeing Vilius and Luther return from the plateau earlier that morning, unafraid. He didn't speak this aloud to them, but through gritted teeth, he felt like he was letting his brothers and sister down. And so he's trying to do his best to do his duty, though he's afraid of, common things now. He'd stare long at a rock or a tree, thinking that it's something unnatural, ready to claim them, unaware of the true dangers.
Yeah, so Dagger isn't around.
No, I thought he'd be back by now.
I'll go look for him. And she'll sling down her spear and like with her shield and the rest of her gear, and just take her long knife and bow and a quiver of arrows.
No, we should not go one by one.
No, we should not.
We shouldn't leave the camp either.
Was there a camp? I mean, I thought we were travelling.
Oh, right. I thought we stopped for lunch, so I assumed.
Just stop for lunch, yeah. It's not so much a camp as it's just you stop for
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, then let's just all go.
Okay. Fair enough.
I can stay and watch the camp.
If our intent is to travel on from here further, we'll just pack it now and just go all together and look for Dagger and then find him and push on.
I mean, my impression was that we were doing our tasks before we sat down to eat. That was because you had to come back with the food and Dagger had to come back and make sure everything was safe or whatever,
That's right, yeah. But that's fine. We'll move to Dagger quickly then whilst you're working out what you're going to do about that. Dagger, you basically failed on your scouting check, so you're not really aware of any danger around you. But what you do see with that separate check is whilst you're making your way back to where the rest have stopped for lunch, you see upon a lightning blasted tree a carving upon the tree, a familiar letter, W.
Yeah, the symbol of the watch gives him hope in this forsaken landscape, so he'll approach without fear.
It's very similar to the markings that you personally made back when you were within the bramble, the area of the wild that's consumed by thorns. There's sort of a language of signs that the watch are versed in, and this symbol denotes that you are close to shelter or protection of some kind.
Yeah, he'll like look around as if he is to see other brothers and sisters of the watch, materialize from their hiding spots to give them aid. But like after a few moments, that doesn't happen. He will return to the others to tell them of the lightning blasted tree and the mark that he discovered. He probably sees, probably Lena. Her eyes are sharp. Lena, I found a mark of the watch. And he points the direction he came.
Come show us it, and she'll follow you to where it is.
Yeah. An excited child. He'll lead her to the spot.
It won't be too long. The meal will be ready in about a count of 1,000 or 2,000. 10 minutes. 20 minutes, maybe.
And we get to the spot. It says there's food close, right? Or shelter. I can't remember which.
Can she do her own check to see, Rob, what she can discern from it?
I won't make you check. I think it'll be, maybe it's just because Dagger is super forgetful, which is, I think, really funny. But it's basically the universal symbol of the watch to denote that there is shelter and protection that lies ahead. Now, this could be a day, this could be a couple of days, but this is what this is here for. To say
what's ahead? Like, is there a path or is there a pointer?
You do note that there is kind of a very loose, rudimentary path that winds up similar-looking ledges and nooks to what those roses were growing on before. You're noting that the ground is getting steeper and steeper the further you go up. So line of sight isn't particularly great at this point.
How far is it to the next elevation where I could get line of sight?
Towards the end of it, you're heading. Basically, what's happening is you're sort of heading up into almost mountainous terrain, escarpments and things. You reckon by the end of the day you'll be able to get a good vantage just before dark.
Okay. With that, we'll go back and then have our lunch, and I'll tell the party what we've seen and suggest that we should go by that trail. It lays beyond where we've come, and so presumably further towards the heart of this wild place. There may still be things there left unransacked.
Maybe we have come across, and then you can see from Villiers' expression that he's looking optimistic, but there's a superstition, even in Echion, of if you speak optimistic good luck, you ward it away. So he bites down what he was about to say and just says, maybe that rosemary you found has we'll settle our stomachs and we'll have and the meal will be good. He says, handing out the stew, the nettle soup with little bits of remnants of. There's a remnant of hard bacon that he put in it that sort of has given it a bit of a flavour of bacon as well. Just a sort of bacon nugget that's stewing away at the bottom. Not edible, but something to give it a flavour of meat. And he's also cooked up some oat cakes.
So, if anyone else has anything else they'd rather do, I'd say we press on for our final rolls of this day. So that includes everyone for the final roll of the day. So, navigation, scouting, supply, and vigilance. Oh, God.
Get to make one roll today. Fuck's sake.
Oh, God.
As he's progressing through the day, Villiers is taking the angle from the path to the tops of hills and noting down, sort of using some instruments to measure the angles from the path that they're following to the tops of hills, all the time noting the positions of hills on his maps, and gradually his map is getting bigger and bigger and more detailed. The white blank spaces receding, and at the end of the day, he's quite happy with how much he's managed to add to the map today, and he feels especially confident that he's done a good job. He got a 20 on investigation again, or he got a 22 and a 20, so he's done well today.
He has. Villiers is on point with the navigation, and your determination to make sure that the watch keeps on track is what is getting you through at this point. Scouting ahead, Dagger, you press on up the incline, and you don't note that anything is dangerous around you, really. You are taking it on board the fact that this great breeze is still pressing its way through the trees, making it hard to listen out for things. But invariably speaking, you're fairly confident that you're safe and secure in your path. What do we think Lena finds for that 4 supply?
Roots.
Villiers puts in a request to look out for root vegetables.
Oh, lovely.
I was about to say roots, yeah. So just hack out of the trees and things and pull back a sack of roots and root vegetables with Villiers' pot.
Maybe wild carrots.
I reckon you find like an assortment of things. You find a particularly verdant area of this valley side that's tucked it beneath, like you say, beneath some of the trees and in the roots and stuff, and you're able to get supply for a very hearty broth indeed. And it is then that you're able to pitch down for the night and prepare to rest. Is there anything you wish to discuss before you sleep?
Luther would set up the watches and stuff, and I guess he's already exhausted, and so he doesn't take as much care with the setting up of the camp, and picks the watches in like a stupid order, like he puts Daga first or something like that, and like isn't as careful or as like thoughtful as he should be in the process.
Yeah, absent-minded or not, it's the night presses on, and Villiers, you're able to provide a hearty root-based stew then with your cooking, and everyone appears to be enjoying that food. At the very least, you're able to enjoy nice food until you hear a groan coming from about 60 feet away from between the trees. Just a
Villiers picks up his bow and knocks an arrow and moves to cover of a tree to watch in the direction and provide missile cover for whoever's going to investigate. He'll sort of flank and move up behind them, but he's actually...
Lynn will do the same.
How badly... Lynn's badly injured, isn't she? How badly injured are Dagger and Luther? Do they need physical backup or...
No, Luther's actually, despite having been badly injured, like the rest really helped him. He's doing okay.
Also, very good. Yeah.
Okay, you're the two sort of strongest melee fighters, so I'll back you up with missile cover for this one.
So then Luther will rise and look at Dagger and put his finger to his lips, like shh. And then he'll point for Dagger to go around one way and Luther the other.
Yeah, perfect. Go on.
That's fine. He'll nod and start the flanking position.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for you to fall into formation. So well trained other watch, and you begin to approach. The groans keep coming. Every now and then you hear a. Doesn't appear to be coming any closer. Appears to just be originating from one area of the forest. And Dagger and Luther, as you sort of breach that particular line in the trees, you see a gibbet hanging from a great tree. And within it, there is a twisted mesh of rags and flesh. It appears to drip with viscous liquid. On closer inspection, the gibbet is not made out of iron, however, but of twisted branches. Another groan comes from this naturally created cage. You see the half-devoured face of a serf being kept alive as he is feasted on by some strange gibbet creature that just hangs there, content with its catch.
Luther just sort of stops and looks at it like that's enough. Like there can't be more of this.
Wisdom saving throws for the two of you, please, Dagger and Luther.
19.
Breathing heavily, looking over at Luther. His courage holding him there, but they both break. Oh, good God. 2.
So I actually got a 19, surprisingly.
Yeah, I just been in the chat. Yeah, perfect. You're able. Yeah, I guess it's that kind of exasperated feel like we can't be more. We can't be more of this. So you're absolutely fine. Nico, it was only the two that first approached that had to make the roll. Sorry, Dagger, what did you get?
2. A glorious 2.
Oh Lord, this is more because you're seeing this. There's someone literally in pieces, but still alive, hanging in this naturally made cage. It's not nice. Yeah, okay, 5 stress damage. Dagger.
That'll put me at half.
Oh, God, here we go. Right. Let's find the list. Let's see. Oh, I've gone too far. Here we are. So, Dagger, if you wouldn't mind rolling a d20 for us, please.
20.
There is something that happens within Dagger's morale, Dagger's sense of being. You become incredibly focused. You will prove that you are worth your rank within the Watch. You will prove your reputation as a strong warrior. You have advantage on strength checks because you've had enough. Like Luther, you've this is it, no more. It doesn't say for how long, but I'm just going to say for the rest of the next day, if that's all right.
Yeah, with that, just hearing Luther's words, this is enough. It rattles something in Daga, and with 2 hands, he seizes the rags and just pulls the gibbet. And if I can, I'll just snap, the branches and just throw them to the ground.
What is it you see? I'm able to see you reacting and speaking, but I'm not really able to see what's caused the horror of. And I'm not sure I want to from Luther's tone.
No, I think he would call back. You don't want to see it. Let's just burn it, Dagger.
And he does, yeah. He will march back to the fire and grab one of the logs from it and return to the spot and set it ablaze in that field, that clearing.
The person inside is not savable, Rob, right? They're not badly wounded. They're
there would be nothing. Inside out, nothing you can do for them. Okay. And the creature that appears to have them is more like a plant or a tree rather than a creature that can fight back, like a Venus flytrap. So if you're just to attack it, it'll die. So yeah, you can definitely set it alight. And in the closing moments of light at this time, you just the groans. Slowly begin to stop, consumed by flame. The parasitical branches just quiver and melt away into the fire. And I believe there we needed. Well, you said by the end of this day, you should be able to get some kind of idea as to where this symbol is pointing you towards. So I'm really sorry. I can't remember if we had a navigation result at the end of today from
I had a 20.
Okay. The closing moments of the day, it's almost, if you squint, you can see that this incline flattens out not too far ahead of you and beyond what looks to be the spine of the escarpment or mountain that you're clambering up to. And if anything was going to be built, the Watch would obviously like to have something with elevation for the the obvious reasons of scouting and having a watchtower. So it would make sense for whatever it is that you're looking for to be up there.
And did we, I can't remember, could we, from outside the forest before we entered it, somebody said that they'd seen the beacon from a distance. This was back in session 1 when we hadn't established my journal and mapping the wild, but I presume I was then. Would this all tie in with the general direction the impression that I got of where the beacon was? And
that's right. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is absolutely it. You are completely on track in that regard. Also, it isn't so much the structure itself that would have been seen. It would have been the flames that the beacon
light.
produces. Yeah, and it's suggested that it's not just normal fire that comes from the beacon. Put it that way.
So that evening, kind of excitedly, I show the maps to my comrades and point out the direction and the calculations I'd made for the direction that the beacon was on, and that we are very, how far, 1 to 2 days, I think, from our destination at the most. And he's pointing out the various things that they've passed and the and how accurate he's been able to take his measurements today, and how confident he is that tomorrow or the day after at the most, we will arrive at our destination at the beacon. And then he, overexcited by his successes, he starts explaining the mathematics to you and talking about cosine and the tangent. I got a really good tangent, and if you look at this working, and he starts scribbling up long numbers and on a rock, telling you his calculations, and he's obviously very excited by his measurements and by his excellent mathematics.
Perfect. Is there anything else that you wish to do for the evening before you get some rest?
Luther is like totally lost and has no idea what Villiers is talking about, but is like nodding along, and he's like listening for certain words and then asking him a question sometime later about the word, even if it doesn't really make sense because he doesn't really know what they mean. But he's sort of, because he knows Villiers is excited about it, he's just trying to make him keep talking about it because it's giving him some joy. And so he's like, yes, and that is a good tangent. I see. Yeah. Yep. And he's just like yesing along the whole time.
Perfect. Well, if you would like to make any checks or do anything before you sleep, now would be the time. Otherwise, you may rest. And we've got the foraging supply in for 4. Or was that the afternoon, Nico?
I can't recall. No, lunch. I already did the lunch, so that was the evening. I got 4 for evening as well.
Yep, that's perfect then. Great. Well, at least we're on. Yeah, we got that.
We don't heal from resting, Rob, right? Or do we?
Well, I'm saying that I said for a night's rest, you get a hit die.
Okay, great.
Isn't that what we do in?
Yes, you can spend your hit dice, but you can't get a long rest. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get a long rest now.
Okay.
And can I add the campfire tales, an extra d6 to that, because that's what I do. I mean, that's my...
Go on, Caius, why not?
You get an extra d6 as well.
Feeling good.
Yes.
Yeah, in a way, the talk of the astrolabe and the whatever it is, it's sort of like when you put on an audiobook to fall asleep. He's like listening to Villiers just constantly talk, and he's finding it very relaxing to have something to stop him from thinking. So he can listen along, and he's like wrapped up in his...
No, you're not to stop thinking. You this takes concentration, he explains.
Yes. Yeah, it's very complicated, I know. Tell me again about the tangent.
Yeah.
Okay. So a rest. It's been incredibly awkward resting on the inclines. You're actually having to like dig flat the earth to rest upon, and you find that in the middle of the night you may roll over upon your bedrolls and find awaking that your legs are dangling down part of a hill or whatever. But for the most part, you're able to rest free of the ghastly moans that came from the gibbet that hung from the tree. And then morning, light barely making its way through a heavy covering of clouds that weigh upon you, above you, storm-like. The occasional beam of light glitters atop the peak to where you now head. I'd have all of our rolls for the morning, please. So that's for everyone. See how we navigate to begin
rolls,
with.
or
Yep. So a navigation roll, a scout roll, a supply roll, and a vigilance at night. Sorry. Oh dear.
15 for my investigation.
That's fine. I've just realised we haven't been setting speed, but am I right to assume that you're happy just to keep going at standard pace, not rushing, not slowing down?
Yeah, I think the assumption is unless we say
Yep, that's
fast
fine.
or slow, I think, Yeah.
That's good. So the 15 is enough. You're already pretty much set on where you're going. So 15 is fine for navigation. Unfortunately, it would seem that supply is becoming scarce the higher up this escarpment you get. And for a 12 for the scouting, you do not notice anything particularly wrong. However, it is as we reach the afternoon. Sorry, Caius, did you want to say something?
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought I had something. Yeah, it's as we reach the afternoon that finally, sweet relief on the backs of your calves, the aching that is caused from climbing great hills and escarpments. Finally, the ground levels out, and before you, you see more forest stretching out before you, before it dips beyond vision. The spine of the mountain is encrusted with towering trees, like the back of a great beast. But you see a spire of rock jutting from these trees, and upon it, a singular tower surrounded by a circular wall. The beacon is within sight. You will reach there as the night falls. And that is where we're going to take a short break. Before we go away, I would just quickly say, for those of you interested to run the watch, we enjoy the lovely rules that come from the diabolical mind of Lloyd Collins over at Scald Publishing, Jarl DM. Journeys Making Travel Matter. It's available on DriveThruRPG. Go and check it out, because you can structure terrifying and awful punishing games like this. So, with that said, guys, go grab a drink. We'll have a 5-minute break, and then we will hopefully arrive at your destination. So as we return and as light is fading, you will see that on the end of the 9th day, so by the end of tomorrow, you will be able to reach the beacon. Is there anything you wish to discuss on that matter before you bed down for the evening?
Luther will say, we are close, very close. But we cannot be any less vigilant just because the end is in sight. And when we get there, we cannot be sure that it will be empty. There's always a temptation, and I feel it now myself, to let down my guard. The end is in sight, and soon there will be rest. But we must remain as vigilant as ever.
Lena nods and says, I'll take the first watch.
Perfect. Then you rest. We'd already concluded doing the rests for the evening, so throughout the night, again, it is one that seems unbearably long, and it is a very intimidating feeling to know that you are so close to your destination. The slightest sign that you could be foiled at the last minute is something that keeps you very on edge. But Luther's words, I imagine, probably all keep you to the mark, and you understand that as the watch, you have to remain resolute to the very end, whatever that may mean. And soon, yeah, I can't remember if I actually said if it was morning before or not, and I've just done night again. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There is the sky in the morning is clouded over, great clouds casting shadows across the land, and before you is this last stretch of forest that runs along the spine of this mountain towards this spire. And if we can have all of the rolls, please, we'll begin with navigation. Okay, a fail in supply, 12 for scouting.
12 for navigation.
I mean, if you can see it, I imagine it'll probably be easier, right?
If I have advantage, I've got 22.
Yeah, I'll say you will, as you can see it. We're 1 day away, so why not? Why not? And considering all your other roles have been so good. So, you're able to press on across the spine of this mountain now. The flat land is a relief. And you aren't able to find any food. Indeed, the great breeze, the great wind that has moved through the trees throughout all of your journey has now fallen completely silent. The trees stand still like statues, as if watching your every move. It is then you reach the middle of the day, and 12, yeah, I'd say you'd probably see it. There is a wooden structure ahead, Dagger. It appears to be some kind of wooden frame at the side of a rudimentary path, and beyond you see a number of ruined stone buildings built in the same fashion as the town that you pass through in the bottom of the valley.
Have they been swallowed by overrun by the forest? And
the forest is very much surrounding it, but there are gaps from which you obviously spy it originally. So it's not, you don't see roots or anything growing up through these buildings.
Okay, and they lie in ruin. Are the roofs have been collapsed in, or?
Yeah, they're simple hovels. They don't look ruined at all. They just look empty. They don't appear to be any doors in them either. Just open thresholds into small living spaces. The wooden frame, in fact, is the thing that probably catches your attention the most. A scaffold, in fact, a rotten wooden platform. It's covered in moss and ivy, and crows sit upon it, croaking upon your approach. Built in its center, there is a wooden block with many crimson grooves running through it.
Yes, I return and tell the others of this. There's a settlement ahead, and a place of punishment or execution.
Any movement or folk or beasts?
I nod my head that I saw none. It seems quiet and abandoned.
Maybe this was a settlement that supplied the beacon tower in times gone by. He says, marking it on his map, taking coordinates.
Is there a path through it that leads on to the beacon we seek?
Yeah, in fact, it looks like it is intentionally a small connected settlement, and close enough for those if they wanted to flee to the protection of the beacon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we should pick that path then and continue on to the beacon.
Perfect. So supply and scouting rolls, please. If there's anything you wish to observe about the, because yeah, you're quite right. It is an executioner's platform, scaffold, but if not, you can just carry on. So +4 to your supply. Lovely.
I think Luther would find it odd that in this like middle of nowhere town, like literally the middle of nowhere, like so close to the watch, that they would have an executioner's block here. Because he and his father would have like wandered to various places to take care of the job. So maybe it was something like that. This was the home of them, but he would find it interesting and maybe have that same memory of like pushing through the crowd and them like parting in front of him, like he was infectious or like he was a god. Either way, both reactions, and he would like have that flashback again for a moment.
Would you investigate it, Luther?
Yeah, I think so. If we're not in a huge rush, he'd like wander over and take a look and see what's going on with it.
Yeah, as the others sort of, and while Lena is looking down that path, you're able to look a little bit closer. The wood of this scaffold is new. Doesn't take an expert or anyone who works with timber to understand that. It's almost like the wood is almost fresh, but for the block that has, like I say, those bloody grooves in it.
The wood is new. That is odd. He would like have a quick look around to see where the others are, and if anyone's within like distance, he will make that noise. Which also, I guess, is an implication that there might be danger.
Yeah, Villiers was slightly interested in. He'd be interested to find salt in the see if any supplies had been left in the village that would be worth salvaging, salt or anything else like that. And he was but a bit cautious, and he'd be watching Luther investigate it. And as soon as he started getting wary, he'd also get wary and sort of look round for any signs of life or anything like that.
Yeah, certainly. If you'd like to give me an investigation check, please, Villiers, as you're checking in the other houses, first of all, for any supplies.
I think Lena, hearing the hiss, will go to the nearest. If there's a building that's like two-storied or has some elevation, she'll try and get up high or get up into a room to watch over this and cover.
Only
with
gets a
her
10
bow.
for investigation. Sorry.
A what for investigation, sorry?
10.
10. No, you don't find anything. And yeah, absolutely, Lena, you're able to climb up upon one of the structures that are a little bit higher up the path, so you've got elevation. It's a bit taller than the others as well.
He'll move to Villiers and just tell him quietly, the wood is not as old as the rest of this place. It's possible that there are people.
I'm not believing it. He also goes to double check that and confirms his opinion.
If you'd like to do any checks that you think would make sense to ascertain more about this scaffold, then by all means.
And well, Villiers will also look around for any signs of any repairs on any of the other buildings or any other new wood about the place.
I get a 17 world-wise survival, Rob, to see if I can determine, even within a decade, how old the wood is.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you can see that this is no more, very, very new, very recent, within a couple of months. But the roll itself, you're able to look at, and the scaffold itself is built with, just to the side of the path. There's a bit of overgrowth around it, but if you move some of the tufts of grass around it, you see that the struts from which this scaffold stands upon appear to have roots. Tree roots.
Roots. Interesting.
How is it it's not bound by nails though, is it then?
No, it is not. After careful inspection, it appears to be naturally developed.
I will jump off it immediately and just move away so that I'm about 20 feet away from it, and I will to the others as well, and just get them to look at me and how far away I am, and I guess with a gesture, don't get near it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing happens. There is no sudden eruption of this thing coming alive. It remains still and ominous.
This when you found the decomposing man in the gibbet earlier? Is this a similar sort of thing in an earlier stage of development?
We should burn it now.
Let me just take a sketch, he says, getting out his workbook. But he doesn't slow you down if you want to burn it.
If people come here, we'll need one of these.
Don't need any of this to kill a man.
It's true.
That's how
Or
many
not,
houses.
she says. It will take some toil to burn it. I'm well as like to just go onto the beacon. I'll leave it to you, and she'll go back to that path to scout ahead.
Yes, let us go. This place is cursed, like all the others we have found.
Yeah, you're right there, Daga.
Let's just move on.
But nonetheless, this is sort of weirdly fascinated with it, I think, and wonders if it's taking this shape for him to see, that it saw him burn the other one, and there's some connection there, and it knew he was coming and made this shape, or something. These thoughts kind of fly through his head, and he'll kind of linger for a few seconds, looking at it before following the others.
And I think as you step away, to speak in cinematic terms for a moment, there would be just an extra pause just to look upon this thing. There is the very slight niggling feeling at the back of your mind that this is a deliberate happenstance. But regardless, you press on. And so this is the final leg, the final push. I would like you all to make your final... Well, you won't be camping. So in fact, it'll be supply and it'll be scouting. So those 2 rolls, please. 15 on the scouting. Perfect. And a fail upon supply. The spine of this mountain is cruel, and it gives nothing away. Not a creature, not a peep from anything, not a root, not a stray piece of fruit fallen from a tree. The air is just silent, unmoving, not a breath of wind at all. And you continue to wind up this path as you spend the day pretty much in consideration and quiet contemplation. Your journey steadily coming to a close with every step. The incline is a lot steeper upon this sort of final spire that rests upon the spine of the mountain. And it appears to wind up and around. And you can see why the beacon would have been built here. It is a place of excellent strategy. If it had to be held, which is your orders, it could be held by very few. As you continue up, you see that the beacon itself is this warped stone watchtower in very similar aesthetic to Vigil Estoc, where you began this journey now 9 days ago, or near 9 days ago, coming to the end of the 8th day. It is surrounded by a stout wall of black stone. And you can see that this would have once served as a mustering post of the watch, to overlook the surrounding landscape. And it isn't long before this path comes to a great archway on the side of this circular wall. You note that there are 2 large wooden gates that have been dehinged. They lie upon the ground in front of you. And with barely a whisper of the wind, the beacon lies open to you.
Let's investigate and make sure that there's nothing inside it. And then, before we light the fire, plan our defense, because a fire will may attract hostile intention.
As you step... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, agreed. We should scour this place and to make our camp in it and make it right for defence before we contemplate burning the beacon.
The ground as you pass through the threshold into this circular wall is of black stone and dust. Essentially, this thing is a motte bailey, but the bailey itself is more of a tower. And upon the top of the tower, it is very easy to see that there is a vast cage that's made of a coppery, bronzed kind of metal. You assume that that is the great brazier in which the fires of the beacon will burn. But running across the middle of the courtyard, there is something that makes the breath catch in your throats for a moment. You see, running the length of the courtyard, splitting it in half, is a line of chalk upon the floor. And then you hear it. The metallic jangling of rusted armor announces the presence of a man. He is a stranger to you, but for the inverted triangle of the triumvirate that is emblazed upon his torn and soiled surcoat. The 3 spires styled into the letter W is emblazoned upon him, the symbol of the watch. He wears a great bucket helm, and he gestures from atop a tall staircase that leads into the tower to this long line of chalk that divides the courtyard and separates you. He speaks, and while he has the helmet upon him, his voice is clear and purposeful. I welcome you to the beacon. Besides me, you will find it ungarrisoned.
Who are you?
It is not a question.
Villiers. I am Villiers. This is, and these are my these are my 3 companions, Dagger, Luther, and Lena. Who are you?
It is more of a question as to who I was. Please, do not be alarmed, though. I mean you no harm. I was known as a Horizon Walker. This is a title that you would probably be familiar with. This is an almost lofty, heroic term for the first members of the Watch, or among some of the first members of the Watch, that would have stalked far beyond the known borders in the name of Acheon and in service to the Watch.
How long has the Watch been around, Rob?
Probably 100 years.
Okay. So he should be dead.
Yeah, he should be.
Okay.
Be warned, he says, wardens of the Watch. I speak with the voice of the wild. I am its will. Though I am permitted to speak with you, I pray to have an audience with you.
And this chalk on the floor is it to stop the wild?
I respect the ways of the Watch, and it is an old custom to draw and set to the chalk a line between ourselves. You will find if you draw closer, you may become sympathetic to the voice that compels me now. You remember at the very beginning of this game, and it's forgivable because it is at the very start.
Vigil.
In Vigil Estoc, there was a chalk line that was drawn to ensure that
By Envoy Norton. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. The Envoy.
How have you lived so long here?
I am a entity that is permitted to exist by the will of the wild. It has compelled me to speak with you.
Speak, wild thing, if you may not have long. Ling will draw an arrow and aim it at it.
Yeah, he doesn't move, and it's almost like he was expecting this, kind of obviously, to announce that he is sort of almost puppeteered by the very enemy that has sought your end at every turn. And he says, "The wild whispers many things to me. And while I would be here to bring about your destruction, I know you have done me a service. The wild sings to me. It pours rhymes, madnesses, into my thoughts. And it tells me that you brought about an end to my beloved. You brought an end to her suffering.
Aye, and we still endure some of hers, and she'll gesture to her various wounds from her. I'm still recovering from them anyway.
He looks upon you. You will find
She be your lover, and the wild be your puppet master. Why should we not slay you now, thing?
I left my beloved at the threshold of the abbey in which we were married. She sacrificed a life behind the walls of Echion to see me once again. I forbade her to do so, but still she came. She came to speak the words with me, so we would be bound in matrimony. That we would be reunited by the triumvirate in the next world, for her concerns were of the next life. I am compelled by the wild, which, make no mistake, yearns to corrupt you. But words I have spoken and oaths I have sworn bind me to our brotherhood. Words mean nothing to the wild, but they are the only thing that lift us up from the chaos of beasts and savagery. I am compelled to destroy you. But what little good that remains in the words that I spoke when I became a warden of the watch, well, it means I can provide you with sanctuary before the onslaught. The wild whispers many things to me, as I said, and it knows of your intention to light the beacon. And I will not lie to you. It welcomes it. I am to command a great host of the abominations that you have encountered on your journey here. But with my sworn purpose, I can permit you 3 days, a day for each of the three, the triumvirate, in which to prepare. In addition, the wild knows that there is an executioner in your midst. I would offer my life before the wild takes it completely.
This Garvelan tribe sounds like the ripe, cursed will of the wild. I'll have none of it.
Peace.
Repeat after me. The oath of the watch. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to the triumvirate, to Echion and to the watch, to oppose and resist the wild in all its forms, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally upright.
He does so at first with a great hesitation and with a great struggle, but eventually he is able to complete the oath, and he repeats after you.
And Villiers reaches around his neck and pulls off the watch tag, the sort of tag of the watch, this medallion of the watch that he took from the Church of the Triumvirate, and tosses it over the chalk to this thing, and says, "And put this on too."
It slides across the black stone, the emblem facing to the sky, and this armored individual takes laboured steps, ka-chink, 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 to the bottom, removes his helm, Beneath, you see a wizened man. He does not look to be the age that he is, but he still looks fairly old. Long grey and white hair falls to his shoulders and a full, unkept beard. He has startling grey eyes, and they quiver as if holding back great pain as he looks upon the medallion. He crouches down, taking it into his hands, cradling it as if it were an infant. There is no need for him to say. You can see that this is his medallion, something that he would have likely abandoned when he realized that his duty towards the watch had been compromised. And he says, "Thank you. You have 3 days. What would you have of me?"
I would have you the next time that the wild speaks to you, tell them that we have mastered the mysteries of mathematics, and with our calculations we are slowly dividing, conquering, measuring, and mapping the wild. Slowly we will divide it up and cut little bits of it bit by bit, make it smaller and smaller, and the wild will fall to the knife of mathematics and progress. Its time is over, and the watch has suffered under the wild, but we have grown stronger, and we have found ways and found weapons, the weapons of intellect and the weapons of civilization, which the wild will fall back before. When it starts whispering to you, whisper this back, whisper and undermine its own confidence. It is overconfident. It has power, but so do we, and its power will yield before ours.
He takes a long look at you with those piercing eyes, and the signs of a smile begin to crease lines across his face. You can tell he hasn't smiled for a very long time, but he is barely able to hold it before his eyes turn to horror, and once again he says, The words that you speak, it is as I have said before. While they bolster me, they mean nothing to the wild. I was not alone in this transformation. I can feel it singing within me, and there are other horizon walkers that left the borders of known territory and succumbed to corruption, some by force, some gladly, for they cannot abide the injustice of living an entire life to defend the quality of existence that others luxuriate within, behind the walls of Echion. They will come, and they seek to rip down the walls of civilization. And I fear that no science or mathematics will stand in the brunt of their assault. You have done me a service, and it is the meaning and the binding of this oath that prevents me from attacking you now. If you were to strike me and not kill me immediately, I will try and kill you. It is not a choice.
Let us be done with it. If he seeks sacrifice before betrayal, let us be done with him before he becomes an enemy.
He knows much of this place. He's been here a long time, and he will know things that will help us. We should ask many questions before we end his life and give him the sacrifice and the end that he desires. But he is
While his will holds? How long will that be?
3 days. He said, the 3 days he offered. He says, we do not have to resist the corruption and the desperation for a lifetime. Only 1 day, he says, opening his pack and taking out a honey cake that he prepared yesterday. And a honey cake helps you last the day. Only 1 day is it. Don't worry about the future, just worry about today, he says. And starts eating the honey cake. Let the oath bind you for today. Let doubts only plague you for today. Just control the day, and you will control all the past and all the future if you just control today, he says, eating his honey cake. And he's thrown one to each of his companions and one to the agent of the wild.
Yeah, it skids to the skids onto the floor next to him. He isn't able to catch it. He is too consumed by the notion of having to resist for 3 days. Yeah, he draws breath, his chest out and his chin high, and he says, "The oaths that we take are the only thing that separate us from the madness that dwells around us. But by the oath of the Watch, the name of Echion, and the divine powers of the Triumvirate, I shall resist. What would you know?"
So I don't know offhand like what the place looks like exactly, but I would want, I mean, if we're going to have to defend the place, like specific information about like, is there food here? But beyond that, like, what are the strongest parts? What are the weakest parts? Like, are there secret doors and entrances? Are there like all that sort of stuff? Like Luther would come up with a list very quickly of like, I think, and I'll come up with that list as well. If you want, but I don't think we're going to do it today, right?
No, we're not going to do that today. So what I'd like you to do, if there are any other things that you would be asking him in this time that you know of, just off the top of your head now, just say. Is there anything else other than the defense of this place you would ask him?
In what form will these abominations take? You said that what we have faced before, but you said there are horizon walkers that will come for us too?
There are many lives that once burned brightly with the flame of humanity, and now they are corrupted. You may expect the wild walkers, as they are now, to come. And of the serfs that have been driven insane to flock en masse at the sight of the burning beacon. The wild is inviting you for war, and the Watch will have to answer. And I think there might be a good place to end, because I would like to explain something before we finish out. I was thinking that this was going to end with you lighting the beacon and fade to black as the Watch prepare to face off against the wild. But having played this game with the supply and stress mechanics in particular, I can think of no better system that could aid us in the maintenance of a siege. So if you guys would like, I am thinking that the travel and stress rules could be hacked to become siege rules to see how long you can last. So you'll have 3 days to prepare to get as much supply as possible. And then the stress rules and the roles that you make from vigilance and scouting and things like that will be in relation to you maintaining a siege against the wild while reinforcements are on the way. But we can talk about that another time. For now, for those of you watching live and after the fact, thank you ever so much. And I hope that all of your performances are up to standard.